everyone, it's Kyle, Azor Hype. Today, we got a little bit of a different video. I'm joined here by two of my best friends in the fandom. We got Simon from Blaze Manga and Raise the Alba. Today, we're here to do a little bit of a fun podcast. We're going to keep it about under 30 minutes, but we're here to preview episode number 3 of season 8, The Battle of Winterfell. We're going to go over some crazy theories, talk about some big character deaths. Make sure you buckle your seatbelts. Time to get aboard the hype train. So, Raise, let's talk a little bit first here, my man. So we watched the teaser trailer. We were talking a little bit about this before we were recording this. And is that Daenerys on the back of her dragon? Is she going to fight the Night King in episode 3? Are we going to see a dance of dragons over Winterfell?
I mean, I think we have to, right? I think that when you have 3 dragons, you at least have to see 2 of them square off. You know what I mean? And Drogon is definitely the big boy in the yard. You know, he's the big dragon. He's the man in charge, or at least he was, because Viserion has been looking very vicious recently. But I don't know. I think that definitely we have to see at least 2 of those dragons square off. And we might have one in the reserve, one like in the chamber. Definitely, I think that since we did see some images of Jon like on the floor level, like he looks like he might be
the Godswood. I think it was the Godswood. He was looking up.
Yeah, we see like a tree behind him, and I think that since he's going to be there at some point and like in the battle, I think that Daenerys being in the air, you know, going up against the Night King would make sense. I think it would make the most sense, and
that would make him concerned, right? He would be like, "Oh shit! Well, I've seen what the Night King can do. That's my girl Daenerys. Is she gonna die?"
He would be like, "That's my boo. That's my boo thing." So I have to definitely, you know, take care of her or try to see what's the best outcome right here. Who's my number one? What do I need to take care of? It should be interesting to see how Jon puts things into priority, I guess, like what he prioritizes the most. You know what I mean? Winterfell, Bran, his girl. It should be interesting. I'm very curious to see what happens there.
So let me throw this to you, Simon. We know that this episode is going to be 82 minutes. We know that it's going to mirror the Battle of Helm's Deep, like they talked about with Lord of the Rings. It's going to be this absolutely huge battle. They spent all this money. We gotta get dragon on dragon action, right? Like if this is going to be the biggest episode of Game of Thrones, and if like I believe it's going to break the internet, I think we're going to see some crazy reactions next week. Best episode of television ever. You think we're going to see Daenerys against the Night King? Like we're going to get some dragon on dragon action?
I think we most definitely will. I think there's no way they won't give us that dragon on dragon fight. I think that most of the budget was spent on that, to be honest. And they spent like so many nights filming this.
55.
55 nights filming this, and there's a reason for it. But I do believe the budget was increased for this season and the number of episodes was limited, so they can do like a 6-hour movie. If you notice, it's only 6 episodes. The way they split them up is like a 3-act structure. I can guarantee you that we're going to see some dragon fights.
Oh, man. Sure. So the panel is aligned, and we all believe that we're going to see a Dance of Dragons 2.0 in Winterfell. It's just curious, though, because let's talk a little bit about that Jon still. We got it right here, so you can see it right now on screen. Jon is looking terrified. It actually looks like he's drawing his blade similarly to the Battle of the Bastards. And we know the plan that they were hatching to lure the Night King in. We heard Jaime Lannister say, hey, you know, the Night King is going to suspect us. And we know that the Night King marked Bran. So going to be a really interesting scenario there. We know the Greyjoys and Theon, we actually see them in this still here, are going to be there as well. So are the Greyjoys dead at this point? Is Bran evacuated from here? It looks like at least Jon is near the Godswood, but what would make Jon this concerned? We just talked about, you know, possibly Daenerys, but could it be someone else like, you know, Dolorous Ed is revived as a White Simon? Do we think that that's a possibility? Or, you know, maybe Daenerys fell off her dragon and he's like, oh, damn, because we do see him running in the official season 8 trailer, and it's like, what is he running towards?
Definitely the Night King.
So he's running towards the Night King saying, let's just finish this right now?
Maybe no. Maybe he's trying to save Bran. Maybe the Night King got too close to Bran and he's running to save his brother. That could be one thing.
Maybe the Night King is in between Bran and Jon, is what you're saying?
Something like that, yeah. Because can we talk real quick about the plan? I don't think that plan is going to work out the way they think it is.
Why not?
because the Night King's smart too. The Night King has green
He's
seer
right.
powers.
So you're saying he's going to revive the dead within Winterfell?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. He's definitely gonna revive a lot of people in Winterfell.
They kept on talking about the safety of the crypts, like, hey, the crypts of Winterfell are so safe.
That's like
let's go down there.
Yeah, that's foreshadowing that something really wild is gonna happen down there. Is Tyrion down there? Because by the end of this last episode, he wasn't.
So he was on the battlement, but in this
Mhm.
shot, we can see in this still here, we got this one from Watchers on the Wall. You can go find these stills, by the way. The link will be in the description of this video if you guys and gals want to go check out these pictures. But I mean, Tyrion had that conversation with Bran, and we don't know what happened in that conversation. And we know that they expanded the set of Winterfell by 35 to 40%. Simon, for this season, we knew that this was going to be a huge deal, and we know that actually Maester Luwin offered Theon a chance to escape. So, is there a secret passage in the crypts of Winterfell, or is there something more? And the one thing that's really interesting about Tyrion that you bring up about him being in the crypt, Simon, is he helped build the sewage system within Casterly Rock and fix that. So Tyrion's obviously got a great knowledge of castles, and him speaking with Bran, maybe there's something that Tyrion listen to about Bran's story that will say, hey, we got to evacuate the crypts right now, or we got to get out of here because the Night King's going to revive, the dead down here or something like that. So really interesting situation with Tyrion Lannister down there.
Yes, it is really interesting. I'm really worried about anybody in this episode, man. Episode 3, I'm expecting a lot of deaths, but I don't know if one of the Lannisters is going to bite the dust or even both. Probably not both, but I'm afraid for every character right now.
So you don't think that Jaime and Tyrion had plot armor this episode? That's pretty interesting.
No, I don't think anybody has plot armor, and that
wow.
I think that's why we had that setup in these last 2 episodes, especially on last one. That it was so much joy, so much laughter.
No death, by the way, in the last.
There was no death because we're gonna get so many deaths in this one. So I'm afraid for everybody. Not even Jon Snow has plot armor in this episode. Wow. I don't think so.
I'm in disagreement with you there, but I'm gonna throw this one to Ray's here. We have that really interesting conversation about the battle plans, Ray. Obviously, we know that they know that the army of the dead is massive. So this is something that they're trying to deal with, and perhaps we see Jon and Daenerys in this shot. Overlooking their armies. Maybe they try some sort of pincer move with the 2 dragons, but we haven't seen the Night King. So Night King has Viserion. We know that the Night King is smarter than we think because he could have killed Jon and all his friends beyond the wall. He waited for that dragon. Obviously, Bran went searching for information before, and he's dispelled Bran from kind of checking things beyond the wall. So the Battle of Winterfell could go wrong. I mean, maybe he revives the dead in the crypts, or he does something even worse. Because we know that there is a possibility with the aftermath teaser that we saw, Reyes. Winterfell becoming Hardhome 2.0 is a possibility.
Well, I don't know. When I look at how many times the crypts are safe in that episode, it is haunting. Because I have seen this episode as many times, I think, as anybody. Like, I've never seen a show as many times as I saw the last episode. That's how much I loved it, but that's how much I think that they're, foreshadowing the crazy stuff that we're going to get in the upcoming episode. And I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Last night I had a nightmare thinking about the upcoming episode. I'm not even joking. I wish this was a lie, but it's something that is
okay, well, who dies then in your nightmare? I'm curious to hear this.
Well, my family died in the nightmare. It was like a zombie apocalypse. It was insane. I'm telling you.
LOL.
So, like, I am watching too much Game of Thrones in this episode. The foreshadowing of the crypts of Winterfell being safe is so beyond haunting. It's like, and it's crazy. It's because I agree with Simon to an extent, but I think that there are a few characters that are safe. I think that anybody who you think might sit on the Iron Throne is going to live past this week's episode. At least in some way or fashion, they will make it to the end so that we could see who will sit on the Iron Throne. I don't think that they'll just eliminate Jon and Daenerys right away, and then like Sansa has to go to deal with Cersei. I don't think they're going to go that route. But I think that anybody who has a legit chance at the Iron Throne, I think will survive, right? And then everybody else.
Okay. Let me cut in here for a sec. Then give me a list of 5 characters that are safe for you.
5 characters that I think are safe. One character that I think is safe in the episode that is coming up this Sunday, episode 3, I think is Jon Snow. And Jon Snow is tricky because I think that Jon Snow is safe in a way that I think he'll make it to episode 4 or at least to episode 5. He might die and be resurrected or something again, but I think he will be later down the line in the upcoming episodes, right? But then you have Daenerys, you have, let's say, Sansa, you have Arya. Those characters, I think they make it to the end because their story arcs don't seem to be at that point that, they might just do them in this upcoming battle. I don't think that
So
it
let me
would.
pose a question to you then, Reyes, because that's an interesting list, but I'm going to throw something crazy out there. What if Bran Stark dies this episode? Because we had really interesting things happen in the last episode. One, we had Samuel Tully remark about how important the history of Bran, being the three-eyed raven, the histories that he knows. And there's the Samuel Tully writing the A Song of Ice and Fire theory at the end, kind of similar to what goes on in Lord of the Rings. So there's that. And then also we have the private conversation with Tyrion and Bran. So what did Tyrion learn? So is there a possibility that the Night King actually wins and kills Bran Stark in this episode? Simon.
Yes.
Yeah, Simon's like, okay, that's it. Yes, podcast.
I mean, no, there's a possibility, and I just want to expand on my previous comment.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's safe. I don't think that anybody has plot armor just because we still have Beric Dondarrion alive. And he can transfer his life to a main character. So they can get away with killing one of the big main characters and bringing it back. That's why I think they can kill Daenerys, they can kill Jon, they can kill Bran. But if they're needed for the end game, the Lord of Light won't allow that to happen. So he will use Beric Dondarrion to resurrect one of the characters.
We just talked about that on Gemma's stream tonight, where we had David Grayson and JR. Talked about the possibility of Beric Dondarrion having his arc this far in the show, replacing Lady Stoneheart to revive someone like Sandor Clegane. But certainly, I mean, Simon, you have a point. It's really interesting because Jon Snow said, hey, don't ever bring me back again to Melisandre, which is really interesting. But, Daenerys was marveling at Jon's wounds in his chest. So it would be really interesting if both Jon and Daenerys were revived, because they are both the best candidates to be Azor High in most people's opinions in the fandom, in A Song of Ice and Fire, the books and the show. So I find that comment really interesting. Like, I think you're right on the money, though, that Beric's arc ends this episode. Probably he's going to die saving Sandor, or maybe saving a major character. That's what he's brought into the show for.
Maybe even Arya, because she was so afraid. She's running. She was running in the previews of this episode, and she was running in the trailer for the season. And I think it's the same episode, of course, but she was afraid, and we never seen Arya this fearful before.
Well, both of you guys know, because we chat about the videos that I make on the channel, and both of you know about the video that I made about who's chasing Arya in the trailer.
Of course,
So if you're new to the channel and you're watching this podcast right now, then go check that out. And should we talk about it right now? Let's just preview this.
Let's jump into it. Yeah.
So, Reyes, is Arya gonna fight the Night King in this episode? She might get her wish. I mean, we hear that. I mean, she's faced death. She's had to deal with the faceless men who say Valar Morghulis. There's this huge theme of Arya in death. Like, is she going to get her wish in this episode? Is the Night King going to scare the shit out of Arya inside Winterfell?
I think that both those things. I think she will have a confrontation of sorts with the Night King, and I think he will also scare the shit out of Arya. And I think that those things aren't necessarily together. I think they're actually separated. When you look at the fact that, she wants to meet all the faces of death, she wants to see this face or whatever. I think that that'll happen, and I think that the possibility of her killing Viserion could be very high, just because that weapon was such a big thing, the way that they foreshadowed that use of that weapon, so it might come in clutch. But I know that you showed me something, and I'm leaning more towards your theory on who might be chasing her. But after last week's episode, I have a little suspicion that it could be another person, and not just based off of anything, just like how much of a mental
Gendry. Is it Gendry? I think you're going to go with Gendry.
Gendry. Gendry to me is like the number one person who would most F up Arya's mind right now. If after the walk of shame in the morning through the courts or before the battle,
Bran is watching her, by the way, with this mug.
Yeah, Bran is like, that was beautiful, Arya. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Gendry, like, this is gonna be awkward, crazy, all the emotions all over the place. And it's funny, I've talked with people about the scene when Podrick is singing, and people are like, oh, she probably wasn't satisfied. I don't even think it's that. I think that she's scared about what's coming. I think that she's thinking about this upcoming battle. I don't think that it was anything to do with Gendry. I just think that, wow, like this is real. Like this big battle is coming up, and she's just can't sleep thinking about it. But I think that if it's not who you said it was, I think it could be a reanimated Gendry. I don't know.
I could see it too, and that has been made into. There's been many memes about that. I've actually thought about doing a meme review on the channel. I'm still considering it, but we'll see about that.
Your meme game has been 1A, friend. Damn.
11,
Oh yeah.
11-10. Are we calling it now? Let's actually talk a little bit about Arya's weapon, because I don't think the Clegane will happen in this episode, but I would love to see her fighting like Oberyn with that spear, and I think that might happen later in the season. And Oberyn went over to Essos. There's a lot of that stuff in the books, but I can't wait to see her use that weapon in the Battle of Winterfell. And what would be really interesting? I kind of want to talk a little bit more about this. Is like if she's killing whites and she kills a White Walker with it, but if she faces the Night King and it doesn't work on him, like specifically, Valyrian steel, or it has to be more than Valyrian steel, this Lightbringer like object, or Dragonfire or Wildfire. Like, what is the thing that can affect the Night King? So I could see a scenario, Simon, where this weapon that Gendry made, and that's why she's so terrified in the halls, is like, oh shit, I just tried to stab the Night King with Dragonglass and it doesn't work. Because the one thing that we do got to remember is the Night King is, as far as we know, the only White Walker with Dragonglass in his chest. So how strong does that make him? Has he made all the other White Walkers? How many White Walkers are on the front line in Winterfell? Like, it's absolutely insane.
I think one mind-blowing moment that could happen is maybe Jon Snow or somebody with Valyrian steel tries to kill the Night King and it doesn't affect him. I think that
shatters?
would blow.
Like Longclaw shatters?
And he won't shatter. Oh, maybe Longclaw will shatter, but yeah, it will not work the same as it does in the other White Walkers. But maybe the actual key is the Dragonglass, because he's part of it.
So then maybe the opportunity, like this plan, they talk about Dragonfire, right? And then in the official trailer, I think we have that. It's a super dark shot of Drogon, or one of the dragons that has the dragon flame in the official season 8 trailer. So maybe it is Dragonfire, but I'm really interested to see, because they have set up him walking through fire. We had the one White Walker walk through fire.
Yeah,
they get to Jon, that Jon killed the first White Walker that Jon killed. Then we had the battle at Bloodraven's Cave. The White Walkers walk through the fire there. And then we also have the other one beyond the wall, and the Night King walks through fire there. So I think that this is actually a shit plan, because they showed us with imagery that the Night King can just walk through fire. So yeah, what affects him?
I don't know. That's what puzzles me. And I don't think the plan is going to work, like I mentioned earlier, because I think it's a dumb plan. I think there's a theory that people are thinking like maybe Bran knows something that needs to happen, and he's putting like a Doctor Strange. They need to experience some sort of failure for them to defeat the Night King in the long game.
So maybe he's playing this giant game of chess. He can't tell everybody what's going to happen, because he'll affect everybody's decision-making processes, thus changing the timeline. So he's got to like carefully maneuver every situation. And we're going to figure that out by the end of the season, that Bran masterfully maneuvered this whole thing. And finally, the Night King will slip up, and then somehow they will defeat him. But that could cost him his life, right? I mean, that certainly seems like where it's going.
I don't know if he cares about his life anymore. He only cares about the knowledge that he has, so maybe he can pass down to somebody else. But
that's a really good point, Simon. Like, the Three-Eyed Raven doesn't rule with emotion, right? It's like all fact-based. And Raymond, let's touch on this. Bran did say that it was he's after me. We did hear the confirmation of that the Night King wants to have this endless night, and he wants to erase human memory. So this is a really big reveal to know what the Night King is actually trying to achieve.
When I saw that, something in my mind was like, is that really what he wants? I'm of the mindset that I don't know how important the story and history that Bran has in his mind or at his disposal is. I don't know the value of it after this whole war, right? After the whole situation with the White Walkers and the Night King and the dead is resolved, of how much importance is this really? Because when you really look at the whole story of Westeros and the way that things have been done, all we hear over and over again is that it's done horribly. History has been bad, and all these dark things about, these houses and the way that things are run and everything. So the way that I just look at it is it really that valuable, this information? Is it what the White Night King wants to do? Isn't it like a hard reset possibly? So I'm like, I'm very on the fence of, is it really what he wants? Is that what he wants? And maybe it is in the books different from what we're getting on the show, but I don't know if I can 100%
Well,
buy into it, because I get the feeling that Bran knows something that
well,
we do not.
well, the Night King. I mean, rehumanizing him would be very interesting, right? He was created, he didn't want to be turned into the Night King. That's why he keeps on leaving this symbol. That was actually confirmed by the episode 1 writer. The symbol is actually like a representation of an upside down cross. It's like this perversion of where he got created into the Night King. So that's a really interesting thing. But like obviously Bran knows more than everyone else, and there's got to be more to the Night King than this, because did he have a loving family? Was he from House Stark? Does he have a statue in the Crypts of Winterfell? Like all of these different things. There's so many different layers to what we're going to find over the next few episodes. Like, yeah, he's this personification of death, but I'm in agreement. Like there's got to be something more than that. Like they keep on teasing us with that. And we know that there's prequels, but I'm still on the same page as you, Ray, where I think that we're going to get more than that. Let's kind of open it up to one final crazy thought here, and this is like a tinfoily way to end it. But the scene with Davos and that little girl, she has the mark on the side of her face is burned. Shireen had grayscale, but her face is burned. And then just like this scene, like even the woman that Gilly's interacting with in this scene, the Shireen music is playing, the Shireen theme. So I'm wondering, she says, "I'm going to protect the Crypts of Winterfell." Could we see Melisandre glamored as this little girl or a woman, and she's already in Winterfell? Because we know that Davos said if Melisandre returned, he would kill her, and Jon's also said the same thing. So they were on the same page about that. So Simon, is there like first of all, are either of these people Melisandre? Am I crazy, or will Melisandre show up with the fiery hand or something like that?
I think yes on both. I think yes, you are crazy. And second, yeah, Melisandre will come back. I don't know if she was the little girl or somebody else. She could have been the little girl, and then that was like a little foreshadowing, or maybe it was just an interesting musical cue that the composer did just to
make the connection to Shireen.
Make the connection to Shireen, so we understand how Davos feels at that moment in time. But there could be more than that. We were always thinking, I think all of us, most of the people that are into Game of Thrones, we were thinking like, if Melisandre comes back, she's gonna come back with some of the Red Priestess, and she was gonna do something with that. But that would be interesting if she's sneaking in Winterfell for some reason. Maybe she has something to do inside the crypts, and that's I don't know.
Maybe she helps burn Winterfell or something like that. Like, cause she's all about enabling Azor Ahai, right? Like that's her goal.
Yes.
To stop this long night that's supposedly going to happen, and now we're seeing it come to fruition. So for her to sacrifice herself for some sort of way is really interesting. I don't know. I found that scene really odd, and I felt like there was some sort of misdirection there. I don't know why. A gut feeling. Call it a gut feeling.
Yeah, and it will be cool if that's Melisandre. I just want to know what she's gonna be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing that.
Like, what's her goal?
What is her goal? Well, her goal is aiding or enabling a sort of hype, but what is her immediate strategy? What is she actually gonna accomplish by going down there? If that's her.
So yeah. Great thoughts, Simon. Let me push this towards you, Ray. What are your thoughts on this? Am I completely crazy? Am I getting too hyped for the next episode?
Initially, when I hear it, I think, no, this is crazy. That can't be Melisandre. But to me, it's interesting with that scene, right? Because when I look at it, I've seen it a few times already. It starts off with that dude who's saying he's not a fighter, right? And I believe that later on we see him again. And he's like, I think with the bow, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's on the battlements of Winterfell, yeah.
Yeah, if that is indeed him, and then we see the little girl, he's cowarding, and then we see the little girl being brave. It seems like they might be maybe a little bit more intertwined. Maybe we might see the little girl again, because if we saw him, that scene to me was done very well, because we see a grown man cowarding, then we see this little girl being brave. It just seemed like it went together well. And then it's just interesting too that it looked like when we see him later, he actually knows how to use the bow and arrow. Like
is that Jack and Hagar from the Faceless Men then, and not Melisandre? Because that would make sense, because the Faceless Men, do we know that they have a role in season 8? And if Arya was in danger, I mean, we don't know the dynamics. I mean, this person who had the appearance of Jack Nagar, at least let Arya Stark go back to Winterfell. Like, that person knows where Arya is. So I find that really interesting. And the point you bring up is brilliant, man. It's like, oh, like, okay, he's scared and then he's like ready. Like, does he really find that much courage?
No.
I don't know.
No, that's the thing too. So I'm like, what if, like, and we also did hear Sansa say, leave the doors open. We still have people coming in. And to me, that was very interesting because we're, as soon as we see her and Daenerys about to meet each other, we're paying attention to everything. And the mere fact that they mentioned that could actually be something that at last minute someone arrives, maybe the next episode.
Howland Reed, please. No kidding.
No, I mean, it's interesting, the whole thing with Braun too. I don't know about you, but I remember in the first trailer, I could have swore that Jamie yells Braun. To me, that was Braun. And we haven't seen Braun
the other
there.
one, it sounds muted, right? Did they change it because people were figuring it out? I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird. So I don't know. I think that there's still something before the battle actually even kicks off. I think there still might be something because we did see the White Walkers arrive, but I don't know. I'm still very intrigued as to how they're going to set
are they
up
even like who's gonna budge first? Like maybe the White Walkers like the Night King just like that's just the diversion. Like he comes around or something. Like maybe he just raises the dead and then chaos starts and then they make their move. Or the Dothraki go first and they start to act crazy, Simon, and then they just revive the Dothraki. But yeah, like I don't know. Simon, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I just wanna bring this up. Like, there's a lot of people online speculating like the White Walker plot ends in this episode, and the next 3 episodes are gonna be focused on Cersei and the fight for the Iron Throne.
There's a lot of people saying that the Night King flies to King's Landing, gets a
Oh.
bigger army. But I just don't see it. Like, is that how Cersei meets her end? I don't know. Like, I think that we're going to see another battle in King's Landing in episode 5. I mean, Miguel Sapochnik is directing episode 5, but maybe that's why we didn't see anything past like episode 3 so far in the trailers and the teaser trailers and stuff like that. Because there's a huge misdirect in this season. Like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like we thought this was going to happen, but something completely different happens in the season. And then that could be the third twist. Who knows?
Yeah, what is the third twist? That's a very good question too. But yeah, no, I was just voicing that out because I seen it online a lot. Like, people think after episode 3, no more White Walkers, and we will focus on Cersei, and Cersei is the actually final boss of the series.
I can't see it. For the stakes to be at an all-time high, like I think the White Walkers they at least have to make it to the Trident or like the God's Eye or something like that. Like, because King's Landing, there's like what, 1 million people or something like that. He wants to erase all human memory. So it'll be really interesting to see, because I think the Night King won't be at the Battle of Winterfell, but there are people that are speculating that he could fly to King's Landing and that they also could be wiped out.
I don't know if I necessarily buy that he would go to King's Landing, just because if he went to King's Landing, he would go with, let's say, for example, just him and Viserion, right?
Yeah.
And what does Viserion do? Viserion could kill people by hitting them with his tail, squishing them, and just like going on a rampage. But I don't know necessarily if, let's say, him using fire in King's Landing, like, would he be able to even use those whites that he kills? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how effective it would be to reviving the 1 million people in King's Landing. If
and also, we saw the setup with Qyburn and Cersei, where they got the scorpions. They shot the arrow through Balerion's skull. So they're setting up that at least Cersei. She does want the army of the dead to win, but I don't think she really wants that, right? So
yeah, she don't want that smoke.
So, okay, like final thoughts then. Let's give. I want a prediction from each of us before we end this fun little podcast that we've been doing. Let's start with you, Simon. Give us a theory for the next episode or prediction something that's going to happen.
A theory for next episode.
Character death. I think we should do character deaths, right?
Character deaths. I will say most of them. A prediction. Beric Dondarrion will pass his power to resurrect people to one of the main characters, maybe to the Hound or maybe to Arya.
Because he's been in connection with Arya and Sandor. That makes sense. So, Simon, you're announcing Beric Dondarrion resurrects someone in episode 3.
Well, not only resurrects, he passes the power of resurrecting people to somebody.
Oh, so he gives them the power of the Lord of Light. Very interesting.
Maybe to send or Clegane. That's me and Emmanuel were talking about that. Like if you watch the previous seasons, they're like setting the Hound for something related to the Lord of Light. Like he's getting visions in the fire. Maybe the Lord of Light wants Sandor Clegane to be one of his priests in the future.
That's really interesting. I actually love that theory. Race, what about you, man?
All right, so my prediction is I think that Jaime will die in this episode and will die in Brienne's arms. That's what I think. Like he said it, he will die in the arms of the woman he loves. I think that he has served what he was going to serve. He came full circle. If he were to die in the upcoming episode, he would come around full circle, I think, and he will have been redeemed already by now. So I know it's not maybe the most hot take one, but I think that it is hot take yet plausible. You know what I mean? I think that there's a real possibility that he dies, and I think that.
So you like the idea of Brienne becoming like, in the end, if they, whoever's on the Iron Throne or whoever's leading, the idea of her putting stuff in the White Book for Jaime and like her, like, because Tormund said, fuck tradition, right? So that's pretty interesting. And Jaime was like, he was cool with that. And we know that Jaime is was a member of the King's Guard. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, their whole relationship since they've basically been linked up has been like a weird love story, but it doesn't necessarily play out physically. You know what I mean? There's like it doesn't play out in a sexual manner or like this physical attraction or anything. It's just mutual respect and admiration for who the other person is and just the way that they've evolved and grown. So I think that Jaime has grown to a point that I think that if he were to survive, he would only just relapse again into Cersei's arms if he made it back to King's Landing. I don't think that he would make any bigger change or he would change anything, so I think that him dying in this episode would be very, very possible and interesting,
poetic even. So
yeah,
I've been giving quite a few predictions on the channel, so I don't know, I'm gonna throw this out there that Jack Nagar shows up in this episode. I don't know, it's kind of crazy.
Nice.
But I don't think it's plausible, but there's something weird about that scene with Davos and the little girl, and either Melisandre or Jaqen shows up in this episode. But this was really fun. I hope that all of you awesome people who have been coming to the channel and who have been here supporting the channel enjoyed this. Simon, want to do a quick little shout out where we can find you?
Oh, guys, you can find me online on my YouTube channel, Blaze Manga TV, or I have a few Facebook pages. I have the Blaze Manga Facebook page. I have the Iridescent Facebook page when I do my comic and manga stuff, and my live streams and all the stuff is on Facebook. And you can find me on Instagram by looking up Simon Blaze.
So Simon does amazing art. You can find all of his awesome videos too. He's doing reactions for season 8. You can find the links to his stuff in the description of this video. Of course, Simon also does the art on this channel. And if you want to go check out his website on Etsy, we actually have an awesome code for this season for 10% off his art. Hype Love is the code. So make sure you go type that in. That will be in the link in the description of this video. And then we also got Raise the Alba.
This was mad fun. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to do it next week again. You could find me at Raise the Alba. That is RAYZ space DE space ALBA. I know it sounds a little bit long, but you guys can catch me there. I have some Game of Thrones content there, and I'm looking forward to the content in the future as well that I have coming up.
Awesome. So yeah, Raze makes awesome videos. Gonna have the links to both of these awesome dudes' YouTube channels in the description. Of course, all their social media, stuff like that. If you want to reach out and, talk on any points, of course, we welcome all of your thoughts in the comment section. Give us the stuff that you're most looking forward to, the crazy theories that you've been talking about in the comment section. Of course, we want to keep the discussion going. Of course, if you enjoy Game of Thrones videos, subscribe to the channel, and you can find all my social media in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you on the next video. Hype and love.